truth for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
All right, guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and man, is it good to be back home.
I was going to say, are you all right over there? You remember where you are, right?
Yeah. You know what's crazy is yesterday I was trying to read a menu in a restaurant, and I was like, oh, it's in English. I'm like, I haven't seen this in so long.
What a surprise.
Yeah, it was.
So what do they speak in the Czech Republic?
Czech.
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 Okay, there is a Czech language.
Yes. It's very similar to Slovakian. So it's kind of interesting. I didn't know this for a long time going to Czech, that the people in Czech speak Czech and the Slovakians speak Slovakian.
Yes.
It used to be Czechoslovakia,
right,
but they actually had two separate languages. Now, they're very similar to each other, and they can kind of communicate. It's not maybe as different as Polish is, but they actually do have different languages.
Now, is it a Western alphabet, or do they have Cyrillic?
No, it's Western.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. They don't have a W in their alphabet.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of something that they've adopted from other languages. And
well, we know they've got W's in Poland now, don't we?
But they have a lot of letters with like accents on top of them that change how they sound.
Right.
So, yeah.
So are you mastering this? Are you getting this language?
I'm like terrible with spoken languages, so I would like to. I would love to. I'm very good at computer languages, so I program in 9 different languages.
Really?
Yeah, and it's like second nature to me. Like I can do it in my sleep, but spoken language I struggle with like constantly. I took Spanish from like 7th grade all the way through the senior year, I think. And we went to Spain, and I couldn't say anything. Like, it was terrible. So, yeah, spoken language, not so good for me. Computer language, right up my alley.
We'll have to take up a collection and get you a Rosetta Stone course.
There you go.
See if that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. But, yeah, so coming back home is just great, It was funny. Towards the end of vacation, Yolanda and I were talking. We're like, yeah, you know what? It's time to go home. It's just be nice to be home. And I'm very much a minimalist. So I spent about 30 days living out of a bag. And there was only like 3 T-shirts in the bag, 2 pairs of shorts, pair of pants.
That's the way I pack.
Yeah.
I used to literally do this. I mean, I would take day trips to go places, and I would stick my toothbrush in my vest pocket.
There you go. Yep. That's all you need.
I would do that.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting not living out of a bag now, but it's a good feeling though too. Like when you have that kind of minimalistic mindset, you don't have to worry about all these other things. You don't have to worry about keeping track of anything. You've only got like 3 things to keep track of. So definitely like a cool experience.
Makes life easier.
Yeah.
So okay, we're going to do a little association game here. 1 sentence impression of what it's like in Eastern Europe.
Eastern Europe. So Czech is technically Central Europe.
Okay. Where you were. Let's put it that way.
A little more laid back. Things aren't so fast paced there. People take the time to enjoy things. They take the time to get stuff done. I think that they really live. Whereas us here, we live so fast paced, we don't enjoy as much as we should. So that would be my 20-sentence answer to your 1-sentence question.
There's your lesson that Andrew brought back from Central Europe. So, well, it's good to know.
Yeah. There's a few other things I noticed while coming back, too, which was interesting. And so I went to 3 places, and I'll tell you guys a little bit about each. We actually started out in the Bahamas, and then we went to Czech, and then we went to Spain.
I know about the Bahamas because I spent a summer down there back in my teenage years.
So when I came back, there's a few things I noticed. And probably the first thing I noticed is we don't really have public transit here, not good public transit. And I realized just how important it is to have good public transportation because everybody here drives awful. I was coming back and I've got people swerving in my lanes without blinkers, like all this stuff. And I was like,
they drive better in Central Europe, you think?
I think so. Yeah, but I don't think it's because they drive better. I think it's because the speed limits are a little lower. I think that's what it is.
That was mushroom.
Yeah. The other thing is, the roads are much more narrower, so they kind of have to drive a little slower. And probably the most surprising thing is that they actually obey the crosswalks. Like you can cross anywhere, like across the street. You don't have to look. You're not going to get hit. If there's a tram coming, which is what they call the what do you call that here?
Like a trolley?
A trolley, yes. Yeah, that's the one.
So it's got rails, or is it just got an overhead pantograph?
No, it's got rails.
Okay.
Yep. They will hit you. They don't care.
We did the same. We used to have trolleys in Pittsburgh. Now it's been replaced with the light LRT, the light rail transit. But yeah, I mean, you want those things? They could mangle anything with the slightest hit.
Yeah.
So
those you got to pay attention to. But cars, buses, they're just like from whatever age they start. They teach people, hey, there's a person in the crosswalk. You stop and they pass. And so it's very different here because in front of U of R we've got those crosswalks and countless people have been just mauled and ran over there, and they put in like flashy lights and all these signs, and it still happens. Versus over there, it might not even be marked, and you put your foot in the street, and people are usually stopping.
It's a little unfair though, too, because really the United States of America does not really lend itself to public transit. It's a lot of people spread out over a huge geographic area, and the reason that public transit works in Europe, and by the way, this is lost on the lefties out there who want to promote like high-speed rail and stuff. You got to have a certain population density for public transit to really work, and even then, it's government subsidized. They would make money on it. So.
Yeah. I would say that the government subsidy is probably the thing we're missing because over there, I can take a bus to a cornfield and it stops there like 6 times a day, even if there's nobody there, So I don't think the population, like where we were, the population was like 17,000, and then the other town we were in is only like 1,300. They still had buses and trains running every day. But
aren't the distances shorter, like between cities and stuff?
Not really. I mean, it was maybe like a 22-minute train ride. From one stop to another. But they do have small stops in between as well. In Spain, they have very small stops in between. Like, it would be like maybe every 3 blocks they'd stop. But I think the government subsidy piece is the biggest. And the fact that they've laid the infrastructure. If we wanted to do something like that in downtown Rochester, we actually used to have trolleys in downtown Rochester running up and down Main Street. And we had a subway.
Yeah, that was the interurban is what you're thinking of, interurban railways. But I actually rode the subway once when I was really little, long time ago. It was in 55, 56, shortly before it closed down.
Yeah.
And subway, by the way, is somewhat of a misnomer. Only about a mile and a half of it was underground.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the rest of it ran, if you think of the cut where 490 goes, like through Monroe Avenue and Goodman and Culver Road and down through there, that was the route of the trolleys and also the interurban railroad. Where the can of worms is right now was it was called the Rollins Loop, and that's where the cars all went. It was a marshalling yard. They would turn them around. They'd send them back to downtown Rochester. But basically 490 is, when you're driving 490, you're on the footprint of the old what if you want to call it the subway or the interurban.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so that was the first thing is, man, people drive bad here. That was the first thing off the plane. Like, wow, I don't think I've been almost hit. Like
cell phones. It's freaking I can't tell you how many times you're behind somebody. They're like dawdling along and they're drifting from one lane to the other, and you're in a 4-lane road, so you pull up alongside them. They're looking down. They've got a cell phone on the steering wheel. Yeah, no, it's true. The second thing I realize is our drinks are so cold here. So they don't do ice in Europe. Like that's not a thing. Actually, most of the world, they don't. And so every time I sit down, I have like a drink in a restaurant or something. I'm like, oh man, my teeth are so cold. Like, it's like I've got to reacclimate to the ice in the drinks. And the last thing is the AC too. Let me tell you, walk into a restaurant or a store and we blast the AC so cold. I'm like wearing jackets. So those are some of the things I noticed stepping off the plane, coming back to New York. We're going to be back here in a moment on Radio Free New York. I always say Rochester, New York is the place where we freeze outdoors 8 months a year, freeze indoors the other 4 months a year.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right. We are back here on Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Back in the country. So,
back in the saddle again.
Yeah, feels pretty good. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about the trip. Give you guys a little bit of, let's just share a little bit with you guys. Tell you where I went, how I got there, all that fun stuff. And then towards the end of the show, I'm going to share with you guys an experience I had with healthcare abroad. And that'll be probably what we'll wrap up with if we get through everything. So first place I went was the Bahamas, which is kind of interesting to think about, especially these last few days, seeing what's happened with the hurricanes over there. Sitting there and kind of thinking, like, is that stuff still there? Are those people I met still there? You know, what's going on with them? I've got a couple of friends who actually went down to help with some of the hurricane relief, and they're actually, it was so bad, they're turning people away because they don't have enough training, and they're like, listen, you're going to end up being the casualty too, so we can't take you, which is really just, you know, interesting. We knew when we were going down there it was going to be hurricane season. There weren't any warnings. We've you know, been gone from there for like 3 weeks now, but it is pretty crazy to sit here and think like, oh, those little places that we thought were so cool that maybe we'd go visit someday are probably totally wiped out now. So,
yeah, it's a sad thing. I think about my aunt and uncle's place. It was on the Grand Bahama Island in Freeport, a neighborhood called Lucaya, and they had built a great big place, and it was, I don't know, 150 yards from the ocean. I wonder
if
that's still there. Yeah. Great big, huge, rambling place.
Yeah, it's and the thing that, you know, if you've never been to the Bahamas before, it's a small place.
It is.
I mean, the biggest island is like 7 miles long. You know, it's very, very tiny.
Grand Bahama, yeah.
Yeah, and so you look at that and you go like, there's nowhere to run. You know, it's not like here where, you know, in California you've got wildfire. You get in your car and you start driving, and eventually there's sanctuary. No, you got a little rock that you're on, surrounded by a lot of water. So it's definitely one of those things that kind of puts a pit in your stomach, you know, when you think about it.
Yeah, you get trapped on there. I mean, you get to where it's 60, 70 miles from Freeport to Miami. Mm-hmm. And if you wait too long, you've blown your chance. The island is pretty much at sea level.
Yep. Oh, yeah, easily. Yeah. I mean, we went there, just to give you guys a little bit of background. We actually went to the Bahamas because my wife was shooting a destination wedding down there. So it was kind of like a vacation, but business, you know, so they covered the majority of the expenses for her to go down there. And it's kind of like, yeah, I can just buy a ticket and go too. So that's what we did. The wedding came out amazing. I mean, it was a very small, intimate wedding, like 40 people. You know, if you guys want to check it out, you know, check out Yolana's work. That's yolanabphotography.com. You can find it on Facebook and just see how beautiful that place was. You know,
is that New Providence where NASA is? Or?
It was on Paradise Island.
Paradise,
yep,
okay.
Yep, which is just like a little short, tiny bridge across. You know, these islands are very close together. So an even smaller island is where we were, but a beautiful place. It was interesting. Everywhere I go, I always ask them, you know, questions about politics, their economy, like that sort of thing. You guys might have figured out I'm into that stuff. So, you know, the taxi driver's driving us, and, you know, their top three economic factors are, first, tourism. That's their number one thing. Second is banking, well, because of all the tourism, right? And the third is fishing. All three of those things are wiped out, you know, just
another problem.
Away.
Another problem is you mentioned banking. The Bahamas are unfortunately a notorious money laundering.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's for drug dealers, and there's been a lot of you know, bricks of cocaine washing up on Florida beaches.
Wow.
Yeah, that's too bad. But you know, it's a small country. They don't have a lot of money, and that's a very powerful political force.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a lot of money in dope.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was crazy. We used an ATM there. The ATMs dispense U.S. dollars, not Bahamian dollars. They have their own currency, but they just match it 1-to-1 with the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
And because tourism is the thing there, and they don't export anything. They don't have the ability to. There's like nothing native.
Well, cocaine, but
yeah, well,
that's another matter.
That's, you know, but you know, and you look at this crisis that they're going through, and you realize, you know, they don't really have farms. They don't have, you know, where are they going to go for a gas station to do that? You know, nothing. Everything they have on that island is brought in, including the cans of Coke, the bottles of water, you know, all of that stuff is imported. So with all that being disrupted, you're talking about when the shelves are bare, they're bare. nobody's bringing a semi truck of supplies in or anything like that. And so, I mean, obviously they have fish, fishing is an industry there, but I'm sure that the weather has totally disrupted that, broken that up. So it's just a bad situation. I will tell you guys about their specialty dish, though. This is like every single person you'd met, they'd ask if you got a chance to try it yet. And it's called their conch salad. So conch being that big snail that, is in the conch shell. It was actually really good. I was pretty surprised. When you get it, you're supposed to go to a place that prepares it in front of you, so it's fresh. And I mean, it was just amazing.
I had conch in Key West.
Oh, did you? Nice.
Yeah, there was a little watering hole down there, and there was a conch sandwich that they made, which was really good.
Okay,
it's kind of lobster-like, sort of, but a different flavor.
Yeah, it's almost
a little different consistency too. I think. Yeah, mine at least was spongier, I think, than lobster is.
Yeah. That brings up another thing. The lobster down there, I didn't really like. It's not a sweet flavor like it is up here. I don't know how to explain it, but we tried it once or twice and we're like, this one's not for us.
Yeah, we're used to cold water lobsters.
Yeah,
from the North Atlantic, and those lobsters are they're really, I think they're crawfish kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. They just didn't have the same flavor, but the shrimp down there was amazing.
Shrimp are great.
Yeah, I've never had such good shrimp down there. So that was kind of the experience down there. It is pretty expensive down there.
Oh, yeah, because everything's got to be brought in.
Everything's got to be brought in. And if you're on a resort, there's kind of like these hidden fees everywhere. So anything you buy is not inclusive of any type of tax. So I forget the tax is what was 17%? I think is what it was. I think the tax is 17%. So if you buy a $10 thing, it's really $11.70, and nothing costs $10 down there. By the way, like nothing, maybe a toothpick. And then on top of that, they add on another 15 or 20% gratuity.
Sounds like Canada.
Yeah, but even if you're shopping in like a store, so it's really an effective rate of like 23 to 27% in addition to whatever you buy, which adds up very quickly. I mean, it could be anything from a bottle of water, the sunscreen, to whatever. So that kind of like surprised us a little bit. But once again, a lot of the stuff down there was already covered for us because it was, for that wedding. But yeah, so that was the Bahamas. Bahamas was very interesting. And I just, hope that we get the opportunity to help out some of those people. I know that a lot is being done already, but it's one of those things that you almost have a personal connection to the place now. You meet some people down there, you share some laughs, have a good time, and then something like the hurricane comes through. So.
Yeah, it's really a shame. I hate this. I mean, the devastation is so total. I mean, that storm just essentially stalled over the Bahamas. Yeah. And just sat there and churned away for days. Just mowing everything down.
Yeah. So the next place we went to is the one you guys all already know about, which is Czech Republic. Very, very often mistaken for Czechoslovakia, which they used to be Czechoslovakia. They actually got their independence. They split up as Czech Republic and Slovakia. And now they've changed their name about a year ago. It's still technically Czech Republic, but even if you look at it on the map, it's Czechia, which is really interesting. Czechia, yeah. And they said because France is the French Republic, but they go by France, and they gave a bunch of other things. So they've changed the name, which ironically I have yet to meet a single Czech person who likes it. It drives them crazy.
It sounds a little weird.
It does, yeah. It's very strange, and if you call it Czechia, you'll get dirty looks probably, and it makes them so angry. And probably the funniest thing is when they see it on Google Maps as Czechia now. They like go berserk. It's
Check you later.
Yeah. So, very, very interesting.
Gee, government's imposing some, top-down thing on people that they really don't want. Why does that sound vaguely familiar to me?
Sound familiar? Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I'm from New Yorkia.
Yeah, exactly. People's Republic of New York. So Czech Republic, that place is no stranger to me. It's where my wife was born. It's where all of her family is, except for her sister who's here. So we went there. We spent time with friends. We spent time with family, and we had a really good time. I'll tell you guys a little bit about them when we get back from the break, and then we'll talk about Spain too. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
You're listening to the voice of liberty.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, FM 95.5 Spencerport, and WYSL1040.com everywhere.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Avon Gun and Hunting Supply, a locally owned and operated gun shop specializing in pre-owned firearms and repairs. Get your rifle, shotgun, or pistol serviced and tuned before you take it to the field. Open daily. Avon Gun, East Main Street, between the Bank of Castile and Charlotte's Web of Odds and Ends.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call.
Coming back.
Won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York on WYSL. AM 1040, FM 92.1, and FM 95.5 West.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, back from a nice long vacation, and just telling you guys a little bit about it, a little bit about each place I went, and then towards the end here, I'm going to share a little bit of healthcare stuff with you guys. And
those watching online, there's the color slides behind Andrew. So.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So second trip was Czech Republic. This is where we spent the most time. This is where Yolana's family is. And I mention this probably every time I come back, but it's always very interesting to me that Czech Republic, although they're a part of the European Union, they refuse to take the euro, which I think is one of the best economic things they could have done. They kind of have a self-contained economy that isn't impacted by, negative things going on in the market with the euro, things going on in Europe. They do have like imports and exports and stuff like that. But their economy is almost kind of like self-sufficient and self-sustaining because they haven't adopted the euro. And it's also great for us because the dollar is worth a decent amount. So when we go there, you can get breakfast for like $2, $3. And I'm not talking about a McDonald's sandwich either. I'm talking about like good, really great food. We went to a place on the trip where I think we spent $15, and it was like the best gourmet meal I've ever had in my life. It was like amazing. And so, the dollar is worth a lot there, which is very good.
Find a lot of people who speak English?
In Prague, yes. So Prague is very touristy. You'll find people speaking English. You can even request an English menu if you want. The funny thing is, in Czech, the places that have English menus, the description is just so much different than how I would describe the food that I don't know what I'm looking at. I have to read the Czech menu, and I'm like, oh, that's what this meal is. Okay, great. So I spent most of the time with the Czech menu instead of the English one, because otherwise you don't really know what you're ordering almost if you're expecting, a certain thing. We did something a little different this time around, though. One of our friends is actually a principal at a preschool over there. And she had just won some awards. She really wanted to share the school with us. And, in terms of fair disclosure, I haven't been to a U.S.-based preschool in a long time. So I can't really compare and contrast them. But I want to say when I went in there, it was pretty amazing. You go in there, and each classroom is set up just so nice. I mean, wood carved furniture, little playhouses made out of like legitimate wood, no plastic in there at all. They've got like games and lots of textures and stuff like that. And none of the education was centered around a desk, which in preschool here, I don't think it would be, but I could be wrong.
Not so much. Not preschool, I don't think.
Yeah. So it was pretty interesting because as we were talking about it, I noticed getting towards the bathroom area, there's like all these sinks and stuff like that. And we're talking and I find out that they basically kind of teach them like home ec style stuff in preschool. So everything from like brushing your teeth to various roles and things you would do in a home, and they're getting this in preschool, where I went through home ec in 7th and 8th grade, and most students will never get home ec ever again. I heard from one person that their students or their child's health class is where they're learning home ec. And that was very strange to me as well, because they were like, they were explaining to me what they learned in health class, and none of it's health. It's like home ec. So it was pretty interesting to just kind of see how it was this kind of like really open space with multiple rooms. You could tell each room had different functions, but they had like a little kitchen for the kids to learn kitchen things. And it was very cool. It was like, wow, I wonder how this compares. And so she was actually talking about a friend who went to some other countries like preschools, and she came back just like crying. She was like, these people clearly don't care about their kids. Like, it's terrible there, this and that. It wasn't the U.S. It was some other European country. So we're kind of going through, and they're like, oh, well, you have to see the gardens that the kids are growing. And I'm like, the kids get to grow gardens? Like, that's pretty cool. So
these we're talking like 3 and 4 year olds?
Yeah, absolutely. So what they do is the gardens and the playground for the kids isn't even at the school. So the whole class, they get together and they actually walk there. And it's like 3-4 blocks away. They're crossing the street. They're, going through all this. And that's every day for these kids in preschool. And so we walk over there, go up the steps, up the hill and everything. And there they go. They've got raised beds. They've got some playgrounds. They've got like outdoor eating areas where they kind of, do meals and stuff with the kids. And it was just a really impressive experience that, I never thought preschool would be so nice. It was really cool. I was like, hey, maybe I want to go to preschool. This seems pretty neat.
Well, you could use some burnishing on your home ec skills. From what I hear.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So so it was pretty cool. And then she started talking about the community that they have there and how every parent, they have a different skill set. You know, some of the parents are doctors, some are, you know, window makers, some are this and that, and that all the parents come together as a community to make sure that the school has everything it needs, that the children have everything they need. And it was just pretty cool. It wasn't like parents drop their kids off and then come back to get them for babysitting, because that's how I feel a lot of people seem to view those early education years as like, oh, thank God I can drop my kids off and then
I
you
can
can
get
go
to
back
work.
and get them. Yeah, it seemed to be that like they were highly engaged in like every aspect, and the teachers or the parents would, you know, ask, hey, can I help with this? Can I be involved in this way? And if there was any type of need that the school had, she's like, we never asked for money. We just let the parents know, like, hey, the classroom needs this. And they just, you know, people show up and bring it. And so it was kind of cool seeing it, hearing about the community, that whole thing. She actually wants to come to the U.S. next summer and see what the U.S. preschools are like. So it'll be interesting to see if she's impressed, if she's terrified, you know, how does it compare in her mind? But to me, overall, it was pretty cool seeing how all of that came together, the community that they have there, and it really makes you wonder what things are like today here, and if they're like that, if they're better, if they're not, and what could be done to make them that way. So last stop was Spain. And Spain is interesting because I ended up getting sick on the way to Spain.
Oh, no.
I ended up getting strep throat. And like,
wow.
Bad, really bad. So, and
now,
I
wait a minute, you're not contagious now, are you?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm good. Actually, on the way to Spain, we also we took one of those budget airlines. Whether or not we knew it was a budget airline, I don't know.
Well, those are the ones that the terrorists won't fly on because they're too scared of them.
Yeah, like basically. So what we find out when we arrive to the airport that our flight, which only cost about $100 round trip to Spain, you had to pay 65 euros to check in. So, you know,
so much for the economy airline.
Yeah. So already you start to feel the where all the corners are being cut. And I tell you what, the plastic seats on the metro were way more comfortable than the seats on this airplane.
Yikes.
I mean, it was just awful. I think it was like a 3-hour flight. I got off that flight.
From where to where?
From Prague to Madrid. And I tell you what,
with a strep throat.
Yeah, the strep throat wasn't really pummeling me just yet. I had a sore throat. I wasn't feeling well, but it wasn't like the worst of it yet. Because if it was bad enough, I would have just went to a doctor and check. You know, our currency is worth so much more. Probably, you know, I was thinking it would be way cheaper. But yeah, no, this plane was awful. When I got off this plane, I had felt like I had been flying for like 9-10 hours. I mean, it was just terrible. So that's Ryanair. If anybody ever thinks they're going to fly Ryanair, they don't even operate in the U.S.
That's Irish, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, that's an Irish airline.
Yeah. So apparently they used to charge for use of the bathroom on the plane.
Yeah, that's actually becoming more common worldwide.
Yeah. So I guess being an Irish airline, a lot of Irish people fly on there, and they were so angry that this is, of course, a rumor. I don't even know if this is true, but it's funny enough to share. They said that the Irish people were so angry that they had to pay to use the bathrooms that they started just drinking as much Guinness as they could before getting on the plane, and then they would just pee on the plane instead of using the bathroom.
Nice.
And they dropped the policy like very quickly. Like the bathrooms became free. So whether or not it's true, I don't know, but they did not charge for the bathrooms on the flight. So could be something to it. But yeah, so I'm flying to Spain and I've got strep throat. And so my first few days in Spain were just like absolutely miserable. It wasn't Spain's fault, but that's the situation. And but it gave me a really, really awesome opportunity to experience the healthcare system in Spain. Now, I was actually pretty worried because I figured a doctor's visit or an ER visit was going to cost me at least 500-600 euros. Like I was pretty concerned about it, but I was also not doing well. You know, I was up all night sweating, but like cold, like it was just really bad.
Running a fever, probably.
Oh yeah, running a fever. It got so bad. It got to the point where I could fall asleep, but only for about 10 minutes at a time, because I would swallow in my sleep, and the pain was so bad my whole body would flinch and I'd wake up.
And you wake up.
Yeah. So it was terrible. So finally it's like, all right, we got to figure out a doctor. The lady where we were staying kind of directed us to a pharmacy. She's like, the lady here is like really good. She'll be able to tell you like about a private doctor or a health clinic you can go to, something like that. So we get there and she points us to what they call like a health center. I get the impression it's kind of like a hospital or like an urgent care or something like that. So I show up, and I'll tell you what, I was in and out of this place in less than 10 minutes. In and out in less than 10 minutes. It was the craziest experience ever. I walk in the door, and there's the waiting desk. They've got like 4 or 5 people there. Everybody's being taken care of right away. Guess what they asked me for?
Your U.S. passport. What?
Yep. So U.S. passport.
I got it.
No insurance card. They didn't care. In fact, the paperwork I filled out was just my name, my address, date of birth, and a signature that's me. That's it. No 45-page intake form. No, height, weight, BMI, smoking status. Do you have guns in your house? Do you feel safe? Like none of that.
Right.
No health insurance card with ID, with this and that. Do you know what your copay is? None of that. So it was very interesting experience.
So they just treated you.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you guys all about it. I think it's break time, right? Yeah. Okay. So
it is, yeah.
looking at the clock.
I didn't want to interrupt this dramatic story.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you guys all about it after the break, because it gave me a really interesting perspective on what healthcare could maybe look like someday. I don't know. So we'll be back here in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Fiorella, a family-owned farm-to-table Italian restaurant with casual atmosphere at the newly renovated Rochester Public Market. Fiorella offers wood-fired, old-world-style pizza with naturally leavened dough, house-made fresh pasta, desserts, and gelato. Enjoy craft beers, imported Italian and New York State wines. Open Wednesday through Saturday for lunch and dinner. Wednesday evenings enjoy no corkage fee, and Thursday is gnocchi night. Call 434-5705 for reservations. View the menu on the web, restaurantfiorella.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right, we are back here on Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, talking about my last few days before I came back to the U.S.
The story of Spanish penicillin, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, exactly. So, as the story goes, I end up with strep throat, and I end up in a kind of like a hospital in Madrid, Spain.
Well, why does the term "kind of like a hospital" not inspire a lot of confidence?
Well,
to me?
you know,
for some reason, it's kind of like but it was also kind of like a veterinarian clinic.
Yeah. You know, it was interesting because we walked by the place 4 or 5 times because the sign wasn't even
that can't be it.
It was crazy. The sign was just so small and not, you go by a hospital here and it's acres and acres and acres. You can't miss it. It's, signs everywhere, lights, everything. So we go in there and, they're like, yeah, we need your passport. Oh, you're an American citizen. If you're an EU citizen, all your health care would be free. Are you sure you don't want to go to like a private doctor?
But not cheaper? Really.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm here now.
I don't know a private doctor.
I don't know,
I'm not from here.
And so we're like, well, how much is it going to be? And they're like, well, it's probably going to be about 60 euros. And, we'll mail you a bill and you can set up a payment plan. I'm like, 60 euros? So I'm like, can I just pay you now? No. This is a treatment facility. We don't accept money. We don't accept cash. Like it was
That's
all
interesting.
Yeah. It was all focused on just getting you better. So I fill out like a 3x5 card, just name, address, date of birth, sign. Yeah, that's me. That's it. Okay. Go over by door 10. So I go walk through, sit down thinking, all right, how long am I going to be here for? Not even 2 minutes goes by. The door opens up. Oh, come on in. There's the doctor. Once again, they don't make me step on a scale. They don't want to take my blood pressure. And I'm sitting here thinking, crap, they're going to take a throat culture. It's going to be another 24 hours till I can even get started on antibiotics. And I'm going to go a whole other day, like this. She goes, okay, yep, here, sit on the bed, open your mouth. Oh, that's strep throat. Here's a prescription for, I think it was amoxicillin. Go to the pharmacy, get that, take it for 7 days, every 8 hours. Try to take it with food if you can at the beginning of a meal. You'll start feeling better in 24 to 48 hours. So, yeah. That was it. That was the appointment. It was crazy.
So, of course, you followed her advice. You went to the pharmacy. You got the amoxicillin.
Yep. Which also was oh, well, you're going to have to pay for this. It's, because you're not an EU citizen. Yeah, that's fine. How much is it? Oh, 10 euros. 10 euros. I mind blown. So pay that, get better. But this had me really thinking like, wow, like the whole process was so different. The payment structure and the fees and all that, that's a whole other thing. But the process of walking in, somebody being focused clearly on your care. There was no question about how it was going to be paid for, what insurance you have, any of that. And then not doing a bunch of goofy regulatory things, whether imposed by the government or the insurance company. Once again, just being focused on your care and then getting you out as quick as possible so you're not there any longer than you need to be, was interesting. So we got a chance. We went with a friend who has been to Madrid 18, 20 times, got friends there, family. Later the next day, I think, we visited them. And so we, of course, what am I going to do? I started asking questions. And I was like, yeah, so how's healthcare work here? What are you guys paying in taxes? Like, how's all this happen? And what was interesting is they do have a subsidized government health care.
So was that the system you were using?
Yes. So that's their public health care system. And they have issues with it. And I'm going to get to those because they also had private health care as well. And what's interesting is, and I don't fully understand how this works 100%, so I'm being kind of cautious about how I'm using the phrases here. It didn't seem that they had health insurance, that they have like a care plan that is actually care, not insurance. Where here we buy insurance and you just hope and pray that it covers whatever you need. Whereas there it appears that it's like, no, it's a care plan. And you get the care. It's not like an insurance that covers like a certain deductible. So they also pay for private health care. And the reason they were explaining it is they said, well, the public ones, they can be full. And if your kid's sick or something, you want them to get to a doctor sooner so they can get back to school. So then you would use a private doctor. But then they said, you would never use a private doctor for a surgery, for example. And I was like, why not? Because here, I'm sitting here thinking like U.S. model. I'm like, I wouldn't trust a public defender. Like, why would I trust a public doctor? And they said, no, the public doctors have to meet such a high standard that if you don't make it in the public sector, you go private sector. So it's like really
the washed out ones are the private ones.
Yeah, it was so crazy. They're like, yeah, if you had like heart surgery or something, you would never trust a private doctor. You would go to public, and that was just weird to me. That was very strange because I'm used to government being just so awful. You would never trust a public entity for something like heart surgery. So I talked with them a little bit more, and it was pretty interesting. They actually have an issue. Spain has a really good healthcare system, and the way it appears to work in the EU is if you're an EU citizen and you're anywhere in the EU, your healthcare is covered through your EU citizenship. So what they have right now is a lot of people from Britain, which we all know how bad British healthcare is.
Oh, yeah,
it's like atrocious.
Legendary.
Yeah. So what they have right now, they have an issue with all these people from Britain coming to Spain to get the healthcare there to fix their issues and then going back. They'd rather pay for the travel, pay to live there for months even to get Spanish healthcare. So it's becoming an issue for them. They had a phrase that they used for it. I can't remember. It was it's almost like healthcare refugees or something like that. I forget exactly what they called it.
Healthcare tourism in some parts.
That's what it is. Healthcare tourism.
Some parts of the world, yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what they called it. They
go
called
on vacation and you get your tonsils out.
Yep. So what they were saying is that's actually what people are pushing back on now for Brexit. Is all these British people worried that they're going to be stuck with British healthcare instead of being able to go to Spain?
Never thought of that.
Yeah, I didn't either, but it's like a huge problem for them over there. So that was just a really interesting experience. I'm going to research like a lot more to share with you guys about like what does it really cost? Because we got the air quotes here when we're talking about free. It's not free. Somebody's paying for it, and they pay pretty decent in taxes. So they said their tax rate.
By pretty decent, you mean like pretty high taxes or pretty low?
It's pretty close to ours, I think, with some exceptions. So they said their highest income earners get about 45% income tax. But it's scaled like ours is. So ours, I think, starts at like 5 or 10% on your first 8,000, and then your next 7,000 is like 17%, and then it scales its way all the way up to I think 37% maybe on the federal level,
top rate,
like that.
Federal tax rate, I don't know.
Yeah, so their 45% includes all their local taxes, everything, and it scales up as your income does. But to hit that ceiling is not very high to be considered a top income earner. It's like 60,000 euros a year. So probably you're making about $70,000 a year. You're paying the highest tax rate. but they have a VAT tax. It's 21%.
Yeah. And by the way, there's a lesson in that for everybody who's out there stumping for a VAT tax to replace the income tax. Every single country that has done this, including Canada, by the way, who's enacted a VAT tax, thinking that that's going to replace the income tax.
Never does.
No.
No, it's just an additional
Just
tax.
gets added on top.
Yeah. So
be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. They also have about a €60 kind of like annual vehicle registration fee. But it doesn't seem that they have to go through annual inspections like we do. So that was interesting. It seems like the inspections may be good for like 4 to 6 years, if I understood it, because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, that's not due till 2023 or something like that. They have property tax, which also seems to be significantly less than at least New York State property tax. But then again, so is everyone's, right? So that was my experience. I'm going to share more with you guys on Friday. I'm also going to talk on Friday about the difference between a sales tax and a VAT tax, give you guys kind of those perspectives, and maybe we'll talk about what isn't taxed here in New York. It's going to be a short list. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Radio Free New York. I'll catch you on Friday.
Open Door is a great place because it helps you with your whole self. It's not just about the addiction.